Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of Recliner Wrestling Review. I'm your host, Jared, here with your co-host, John. John, how's it going today, man?
Things are good. How are you?
Doing good. I'm ready to talk some old school wrestling, some WrestleMania 1.
This first.
The very first. So, yeah, this is, we're getting into WrestleMania season, so we thought we'd do a little something special here and kind of follow suit, if you will. So, yeah, that's what we've got going on today. So have you, I'll start at the top here. Have you seen WrestleMania 1 before today?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course. But I can say before watching this back, it's probably been 10 or 12 years, something like that, since I've watched the event.
Right.
So it's not something I've seen recently. And back then, I think I only watched it once. It was
That's
when
probably...
they started coming out with those big DVD sets of all the WrestleManias. I got one of those, and I was like, "All right, I bought it. Let's watch them all."
Right.
And
yeah.
that was my first, I believe, my first time watching it. So it's probably the second time ever. So it's been a minute. How about yourself? Have you seen this before?
Once, probably in its entirety. Some things I've only seen once. Some things I've seen hundreds of times in clips, and like you're talking about, things that are included on DVDs and that kind of thing, replays, especially in Mania season. So yeah, there's, some of the upper card I've seen a lot.
The main event. Yeah.
The main event, the CYNDI LAUPER stuff, that kind of stuff. So yeah. So before we get things kicked off here, be sure to like this video, share it with your tag team partners, and hit your finisher on that subscribe button, brother. Ooh yeah, dig it.
Fantastic.
Good stuff, man. I'm telling you.
We are moving up in the world here.
We are, man. We got big things. It's bright lights and big cities. I'm here to tell you. So speaking of bright lights and big cities, WrestleMania 1, it happens on March 31st of 1985 in Madison Square Garden. There is an attendance of 19,121 people. The event was seen by over 1 million people through closed circuit television, making it the largest pay-per-view showing of a wrestling event at that time.
So a huge success.
Truly. And there's a lot to get into with that. But this is, Vince had everything on the line with WrestleMania 1. And he actually made that very vocal, very, very well known with everybody backstage. Like, give us your everything, because I'm putting everything in this. Like, it's literally sink or swim. If we don't do good on this, we have no company, basically. I've spent everything.
What were your thoughts when it aired?
Well, I was 2. So whenever it aired, I don't know that I saw it live by any means.
Surprise.
But, yeah. So yeah, I thought for the first one, it was nowhere near the glitz and glamour we've come to know. Very, very stripped down version of pay-per-views in general, really. But yeah, so we opened the show with a whole bunch of different clips of kind of the matches that are yet to come throughout the night. So it kind of gives you a welcoming. If you don't know who or what's going on, they do kind of a good job of catching you up on all that. I like how we're getting flashes of us in between.
I know.
So yeah, Madison Square Garden, March 31st, 1985. We start things off at ringside with Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse the Body Ventura on commentary, which I honestly, it's been a minute since I've listened to that commentary duo, and gotta say, big fan. They had good chemistry. I'm not going to say they're on the top 5.
Yeah, I was mixed on them. I liked them both. But if Jesse called him Gino one more time, I was going to throw it.
That did bother me too. But I actually thought that Jesse Ventura and Tony Schiavone had way worse chemistry than these two.
Okay.
To me, on the other one that we watched, what was that we watched? Super Brawl 3.
Super Brawl 3.
So I thought that it was a lot of Jesse throwing Tony Schiavone under the bus. At least these guys being cohesive and try to keep each other over only to the level they needed while getting talent over. So then we have Howard Finkel in the ring, and he's going to introduce the person that's going to sing the national anthem, the Star Spangled Banner, none other than Mean Gene Okerlund. So, the quick story there was supposed to be somebody booked. I'm not sure who it was, but for whatever reason, it didn't happen. And so Gene was the one to have to step up to the mic and do the job. So, all things considered, considering he's not a singer or anything, that was good enough. The crowd ate it up. So
I liked it.
I enjoyed it just for nostalgia. Like, Mean Gene Okerlund can do no wrong, in my opinion. So,
yeah, I thought that was really fun. And as time goes on, they get away from the national anthem and go to America the Beautiful.
Correct.
So, or God Bless America? America the Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, I thought the national anthem was really nice. And, like, we haven't really touched on this at all, like, with COVID and wrestling, but just live events in general. It's, it was nice to sit down and hear the national anthem be sung at a sporting event, I thought.
Yeah, I'll agree with that for sure. Yep. What was not necessarily so nice, in my opinion, was who they went to next. This
Lord
guy,
Alfred?
Lord Alfred Hayes. My goodness. Dear Lord Alfred Hayes. I don't know what was I don't know if somebody threatened him with his job if he didn't do a good job on this or what, but through the whole pay-per-view, he is a stammering, stuttering, flubbering mess. Like, poor guy. Yeah. He just seemed so scared to be on camera, and he just looks like a deer in the headlights. And this is what we're gonna do next. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he was kind of the go-to guy. Like, they kept throwing to him so he could go to let me go to this pre-recorded video. Right. So there's lots of pre-recorded videos throughout this whole show. And Alfred Hayes is kind of the go-between. Like, okay, well, let's go to this guy to set it up. And,
yeah. So do you want to talk about that now, or do you want to talk about that at the end?
We can go now.
Okay. So this whole pay-per-view is very formulaic in that. Matt, go to commentary, throw to Lord Alfred, throw to Gene Okerlund, go to the ring, rinse and repeat every match. Nothing changed. And so for me, I don't understand the role of Lord Alfred Hayes in this. Why not just have commentary? Okay, and we're gonna go backstage to Mean Gene Okerlund. And here's the other big thing: his positioning. He's standing right, like what we would now know as the top of the stage. Where people are walking to the ring. So as he's doing that, people are like walking behind him, walking in front of him. Yeah. It doesn't seem necessary at all.
The only thing I could think is that it was designed to take the pressure off Gorilla and Jesse, so that, hey, they don't have to know what's coming up next. They can just focus on what's happening at hand. And who do they pitch to next? Well, Lord Alfred. And Alfred's in charge of doing the setup for the video package,
so that they can be on autopilot and just throw to Alfred every time.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, that's a feasible reason. I don't think it needs to be, but maybe it was before they had technology of them being in, produced in their ears and that kind of thing. Who knows? But yeah,
and talking about technology, it could give the VHS guy a chance to put the tape in. I don't know.
Very true. I mean, you're not wrong. Yeah, that's
you see Alfred Hayes, get that tape ready, go.
Right. Yep. So like John said, well, there's a plethora of pre-tapes, and it's even the pre-tapes themselves are so formulaic because he's in one spot. Here come your first team. Here comes your second team. All right, here we go. So on this first one,
some of them were passable. Some of them were downright brutal.
Yeah, there was not one that I was like, wow, that was a really good promo. I was like, they did the job at hand.
Tito, the first one, very passable.
Yep.
And then downhill from there.
I would agree. I would say that if I had to rank it, he would be the strongest. Just, how he talked about how he took everybody seriously and all that. And he did a good job. And the point of a promo is to put both of yourself and your opponent over so that whoever wins is actually beating somebody, and he did a good job with that. And then we go to the Executioner. John, you want to tell the folks at home who the Executioner is?
Well, he is from parts unknown, weighing we don't know how tall he is, but we know he's undefeated, and he is as Tito said, go into the big leagues for the first time, and yeah, oof. I don't know if this was the opener they wanted, but it was what it was.
Yes, indeed. So Tito Santana versus the Executioner. We get so here's another thing that I find interesting. There you go. There's your. The other thing I find really interesting throughout the whole entire pay-per-view, it's like nobody knows where the hard camera is, man.
No.
A lower third for like Tito as an example. He's not even looking at the camera.
No. Different times.
For sure. And you know, I'll be the first to admit I complain so much anymore about how overly produced they are. But they haven't found the they were very underproduced at this point. They haven't found that you know, balance yet. So yeah, another interesting point on this match. If you'll notice on the ring attire for the Executioner, he's got a black stripe on his boot. It's actually electrical tape covering up the name Rose.
Oh.
So that was an interesting little tidbit. Something else I noticed in this match was, my gosh, look at how loose these ropes are. We're looking at a picture of the top rope that is nearly touching the middle rope. And I was like, oh, that means that I'm not going to see anybody get on the top rope. And boy, was I wrong. So just a few spots that stood out to me on this match. We had Executioner giving Tito Santana a very awkward looking backdrop. It just like, why would you hold your opponent on his knees and dump him over? There was a time, speaking of dump over, where Executioner got dumped out of the ring and ended up sitting in a chair next to commentary. Just some really interesting stuff. We ended up getting a figure 4, and the Executioner taps out. Match is 4 minutes and 49 seconds long.
Yeah. Well, he did hit before it's been named, but he hit the flying burrito, that jumping forearm.
Yeah.
Which later becomes his finisher, but then he did that into the figure 4. So
right. Yeah.
But yeah, so Tito beat the Executioner and snapped that undefeated streak he had going from wherever he was before.
Correct. Yeah.
Speaking, I could go without that one.
Yeah. Nothing really stood out to me. So, Tito looked fine. He did fine. I just wish I kind of almost wish he had a different opponent.
Same.
So I would want that more than just like that next to the whole thing and take it off, because Tito does deserve to be on Mania. However,
he could have wrestled.
That was his moment.
I think he very well could have wrestled SD Jones and had Bundy wrestle the Executioner and had the same result, or had a better result for the first opener. Yeah,
that's true. I'm not sure how much I would have cared about the Bundy Executioner match at all, though. That match I would have probably nixed completely. But
getting into it, the next match we see is King Kong Bundy versus SD Jones, and it sets a WrestleMania record, and it's that lasts for years.
Yeah,
that's why I say it should have been the Executioner instead of Special Delivery.
Gotcha. Yeah. I'm with you. Yeah. So again, we go to Lord Alfred Hayes, and we get to see SD Jones entering the ring. And this is the thing that the second part that bothers me to the Lord Alfred Hayes standing there, and you see people pass by, is it breaks the continuity, it breaks the illusion, even though they're admitting it's a pre-tape, which I have mixed feelings about anyway. Keep me in kayfabe. But we're getting ready to go backstage and watch SD Jones cut a promo, but we just saw him pass Lord Alfred Hayes. It's like, it's kind of weird. So Gene is backstage with SD Jones, who cuts a promo. I enjoy listening to SD Jones. Just a good guy, a jovial guy, a good promo. We also get King Kong Bundy with "Give me heart, baby."
Yes,
doing a promo backstage. Isn't it crazy in this picture how much what's his name?
Bundy, Gene.
Thank you, Bundy. How much he looks like the Big Show there.
Oh,
isn't that crazy? Like, that's his face.
I look at King Kong Bundy and I think Mike Tyson Punch Out forever and always.
Yeah. Totally fair.
But yeah, you pointed that out. I'm like, kind of, yeah, it's there.
Yep. Not always, but in that particular picture, it's definitely there. So So yeah, so we get an interesting little squash match between King Kong Bundy and SD Jones. We get SD with a oh man. Oh, I'm sorry.
Bear
SD hits
hug, runs him to the corner.
SD hits the ropes. Bundy catches him and bear hugs him, tosses him to the corner, hits him with the avalanche and a splash for the 1, 2, 3. Bundy wins in 9 seconds is what they say.
I think it's actually 19.
It's actually 24. No, 9 is what they say on the pay-per-view multiple times. And they make you believe it. But it's actually from bell to bell, 24 seconds. But yeah. So obviously this was written, hey, we got to have this in 9 seconds. Like no matter what happens, it's going to be 9 seconds. So nobody like changed it or whatever because they wanted to have it as a record for a while. Just so that Mania is also in the record book somehow. I think
it puts Bundy over as a monster heel. So
yeah.
It was quick.
It was quick. I was kind of glad. I was good with that. This time I don't believe that we go to Lord Alfred Hayes. We actually just go directly backstage to Gene Okerlund with Matt Bourne. John, you want to tell the folks at home that may not know who Matt Bourne is? Or who he would go on to become?
Matt Bourne, legendary Doink the Clown, the first. So he comes back, WrestleMania 9 to wrestle again. I think Kona Crush around that time. Then Doink versus Doink. But Matt Bourne, he's the first Doink, and he doesn't stick around. He gets replaced. And who is it? Ray Apollo is the second Doink. Does that sound right?
Might be. Yeah. And I know like Brooklyn Brawler's been Doink. There's been a handful. Yeah.
But yeah, so for me, this was cool to see Matt Bourne like as Matt Bourne. I
agree because he's known as being a really good hand.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's great. But this is like the one big match he gets as Matt Bourne. So,
correct.
Yeah. And he goes on to have a career. Obviously, he went to WWF, WCW, back to WWF as Doink. He ends up in ECW for a while. And he comes back, I want to say Raw 15th anniversary.
That sounds right.
Something like that as Doink again.
Right.
Before he passed away in 2013, maybe.
I was going to say, yeah, like the teens, the 20 teens, somewhere in there, yeah. Yeah, I'm like you. It was really nice to see him out of the Doink gimmick. And what's funny is with Doink, he's covered up head to toe in a full body outfit, whatever. So it's cool to get to see him, and he actually looked very 80s wrestler. And then he goes against Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, who, my God, dude, looks like $1 million. This guy looks like he just came off of a movie set. Just insane. So poor Matt Bourne in that aspect. But
what was cool to me about the Matt Bourne was I could see like Doink facial expressions in him. Even though Doink has the makeup and the goofy hair,
yes,
I could still see like a young Doink there, and that was really exciting to see.
It is. Yep. So we go back to the ring, and we have Matt Bourne versus Ricky Steamboat. They, at least they're hitting some poses and stuff, kind of to the hard camera, so that makes things a little more palatable for those that are used to watching WrestleManias nowadays. We get one of my favorite spots in the match. Ricky hits a atomic drop on Matt Bourne, and Matt Bourne does this like weird shaky kind of grabbing his behind, selling it, and then Ricky mocks him and does the same thing before chopping him down. And man, it's just good stuff. It's good fun. There's several spots in the match that I thought were really pretty good. A nice belly to belly suplex. We've got just Ricky chopping the crap out of Matt Bourne. Matt Bourne selling his butt off. I mean, just really good stuff. He really does a great job of showing how well he can sell and what a good hand he is in this match overall. Here we get Ricky going.
There's the finish.
Yep, Ricky going up to the top and hits him with the crossbody with a 1, 2, 3, and there's your winner. So match-wise, what did you think, John? Did you enjoy it?
I enjoyed it. I don't know if I was just marking out for Matt Bourne and Ricky Steamboat, but I enjoyed the match. Right. I thought it was better than the first two. So
Yeah, I'm
felt like it belonged on the show.
Yes, it definitely felt WrestleMania worthy. Both of these guys are like, man, I would watch this match if they had it in 2 months from this point. So, yeah, really good stuff. So again, that goes 4 minutes and 39 seconds. We go back to our throw to crew, Lord Alfred Hayes.
You just found the best pictures for him.
What's that?
I was gonna say you found the best pictures for Lord Alfred.
Oh yeah, had to. Actually, there's another YouTuber, Wrestling with Regret, who also covered this pay-per-view. And if you get a chance, check it out because he's taken video clips of all the Lord Alfred Hayes moments in this whole pay-per-view, and it really does a great job of highlighting how bad he was stumbling over everything in that role. And you know, I'm not trying to dog on him or bury him because I know the amount of pressure for something this big must have been massive, but it is comical to, you know, almost 40 years later to go back and watch. So speaking of comical, we get luscious Johnny Valiant cutting right in front of the camera while he's trying to talk to us. Then he throws backstage and we get Gene Okerlund interviewing David and Bruno Sammartino. And we go from that to the worst promo of the night where we've got Gene is interviewing Luscious Johnny Valiant and Brutus Beefcake, not the barber yet, but Brutus. And Johnny doesn't let him talk, and all of a sudden he steps in front of the camera with his back to the camera and has Beefcake talk, and he turns, and Beefcake just goes, I'm like, dude, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah. He's just giving a precursor to how the match is.
100%. So let's go back to the ring. We get Bruno's ginormous ovation during his entrance. Of course, Bruno kind of made Madison Square Garden what it is for wrestling. It's his stomping grounds, if you will. We get his son, David Sammartino. In his, I don't know, is this his first match, John, in WWF? Do you know?
I don't know.
Not sure.
Yeah, I just remember thinking, I wish it was Bruno wrestling the whole time.
Yeah. Yes and no. Same, but at the same time, I'm like, man, I don't know how well he was able to go, how his health was, that kind of thing.
He didn't have to do anything. The crowd just ate him up. He could have worked around that and just
totally
played on the crowd's emotions. Everyone loved him.
I wouldn't have been opposed to a tag match right here.
If you would have had Brutus running scared, like, I don't want to get in there with him, and like, I think that would have been a more interesting, fun match.
Yeah.
You would have had Brutus get all his heat, and then you could have had like a crazy dumb finish. Oh, wait, we did. But still,
I would guess this is a favor to Bruno from Vince, if I had to guess.
I would guess, yeah. I mean, trying to get his son on.
Exactly.
But also giving the crowd like, oh, it's Bruno, that would sell some tickets as well. That, hey, Bruno's going to make an appearance.
Yeah. Bruno was like stone cold over in this era, and in MSG at least. We get a really cool crowd shot too of Madison Square Garden. Speaking of which, interesting to see how that place has come along over the years and how they've dressed that for wrestling throughout the years.
But let's not even talk about it.
The one thing I do want to talk about is how stocky David looks in this picture. He went on to wrestle, I believe, in WCW and a few different places, and he did not end up looking like this. He thinned out a lot and leaned up a lot, but he just looks, I mean, girthy as all get out. I don't know what other word to use, but he is working the leg of Brutus. Brutus has no problem having his leg worked because he's going to adjust his arm gauntlets and his pants, all this stuff instead of selling. It's obvious these are rest holds and they're not wrestling moves.
No.
Yeah.
Johnny jumps in, gets involved, or do you want to keep talking about it?
Yeah. So I did like the elbow in the corner from Brutus. I thought that was good. He also slings David into the corner. David sells like crazy. Thought it was a great spot. This is a sign of what's to come in the not too distant future. Once Bret Hart comes into the company, Bret was infamous for taking really hard turnbuckle shots and stuff, which I thought was really cool. And then, here you go, John.
So Johnny gets in, does a body slam on David on the outside, and then climbs in the ring. Bruno climbs in the ring. Chaos ensues, and the referee calls for a no contest and ends the match. Oh,
Yeah.
There's a kick.
Yep.
But
Yep.
yeah.
Too much to handle in 85 for the ref, so he calls it off, and that's that. And oddly enough, the crowd still ate it up. They didn't need a finish. They just wanted to see Bruno do something.
Yeah, they loved Bruno during the entrance and through all that. Me watching it now is just like, ugh. But
if I remember right,
Bruno
even during the match,
over.
there was a Bruno chant.
Yeah. I love him.
11 minutes and 43 seconds. One of the longest matches on the pay-per-view. Don't know that I would have done that, but all things considered, considering where they are, what's on the line, etc., I see why they gave Bruno and David so much time. So,
yeah.
Yet again, we go to Lord Alfred Hayes. Kind of.
And the hammer.
Hart walking in front. And then we're going to go backstage.
Yeah.
For yet another pre-tape with Jimmy Hart and Greg Valentine. Greg looked great. Greg looked good for Greg. Greg never looked great, in my opinion. He was just very much that typical 80s wrestler. It's amazing how many, by the way, this is a good point in the show to point this out. It's amazing how many people throughout this whole show, we should have had a counter, are wearing shades. How many people are wearing sunglasses in this pay-per-view? It's really astronomical. There's let me see if I can scroll back. Here's another.
Yeah,
it's everywhere. Jesse the Body Ventura is wearing shades. Gorilla Monsoon technically kind of is. It's glittered.
I don't know if you remember or you caught on, but for me, when a lot of those guys were doing those backstage pre-tapes on the promos, it felt like a lot of them were reading off cue cards.
Very.
And they might have been using that sunglasses to hide the reading, but
that's a good point.
Like the people that weren't wearing them, you could see like, oh, they're reading off a cue card, like trying to. Right. They didn't memorize their promo, and I think that's why Tito stood out to me. That's
a really good point, John. Yeah, I never thought
felt like he memorized it.
Well, and that's the thing. So yeah, your better promos probably aren't going to be wearing sunglasses because they don't need it. They just need their bullet points and let's go. Yeah, good stuff. Good point. It's also interesting to me how we get manager, not entrances, but announcements and lower thirds. So just kind of a different sign of the times. So we get Greg Valentine with Jimmy Hart versus Junkyard Dog, who's making his entrance from backstage. This, of course, is for the Intercontinental Championship. There's the old belt there. Boy, doesn't that look old.
So
that does not look like anything anybody would want to buy in merchandising. So a lot of things yet to come for WWF. So in the match, we get some headbutts from Junkyard Dog. Everybody's got to see that in a Junkyard Dog match. We do get Greg Valentine working the leg. Again, somebody working a leg. And they're talking about how the figure four, if anybody does the figure four in this company good, it's Greg Valentine. So that's what they're selling on commentary in this match. Junkyard Dog hits a pretty impressive headbutt and another good sell from Greg Valentine, who just timber all the way down to the floor. Jimmy Hart gets up on the ring apron and gets knocked down for his trebles. And poor Jimmy. And Greg Valentine steals a win by putting his feet on the second rope and pinning Junkyard Dog for the 1, 2, 3 in 6 minutes and 55 seconds.
I thought this was fantastic till the finish. Till the finish, because more comes after that.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Up until this point.
If they would have ended it right there, I would have been really happy.
Yes, I agree. But like John is saying, that is not all. That's not all she wrote. Oddly enough, and I have no idea why Tito Santana gives two craps about this match, but Tito Santana, of all people, comes out and says, "Wait a minute, he was cheating." So the ref, restarts the match. Valentine is on the outside of the ring. Referee is counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all the way to 10. Valentine doesn't come back in, so we've got Junkyard Dog as our winner. However, we don't trade belts on a countout. So
Yeah.
I just don't. I'm a huge fan. I don't think that part was necessary at all.
Pinfall or submission. It's. I thought it was a really good match, and then that finish just took it out of me. Where
Yeah.
I thought, well, Valentine should have just got him back in the ring and restarted it. And I don't know. You wanted JYD to get the win, whatever. But
Yeah.
I thought like the match itself was really good up until the finish.
Yep, I would agree. It just kind of seemed out of character too. I know he's a heel, obviously, but why wouldn't Greg get back in? Especially when, if I remember right, Jimmy was, oh yeah, baby, let's get back in there and do it. And then Greg, nah, screw this. I was just like, wait a minute, shouldn't you guys be more cohesive than this?
Yeah.
So,
whatever.
Yeah. So speaking of whatever, we throw back to Lord Alfred Hay. Boy, the fun just doesn't end with this, I tell you. We get we'll just skip to all the backstage with Gene, where he's interviewing Iron Sheik with Freddie Blassie and
Nikolai
Volkoff. I wanted to say Kozlov. That's definitely not the right guy. So then we go from there
my favorite part of that promo there. Go back to that picture.
Okay.
Gene starts to call Volkov commies. Oh, comrade. It's just like the things Gene does. Just like it's a small thing, but just like,
yes.
Oh, that guy's amazing.
Well, as entertained as you were by that, I was entertained by what was next, where we get
Captain Lou,
Lou,
Rotundo, and Barry Windham with me.
Right. Gene. So the best part of this, and you can clearly see in the picture, Lou Albano's just kicking it backstage, drinking a beer in the middle of his interview.
That's a beer?
Yes. I'm like, this is the best part of the pay-per-view. He's like, yep, I've got to go to the ring, but I'm going to finish this beer first. It's so good. It's a me.
Yeah.
Oh boy. All right, so we've got a WWF Tag Team Championship match with Barry Windham and Mike Rotundo versus Nikolai Volkov and the Iron Sheik. We get all the elaborate ring entrances and all that kind of stuff from everybody.
Old guys versus the young guys.
Yeah. The crowd is like hating, by the way, whenever Nikolai sings the Russian national anthem or whatever, the USSR national anthem. The crowd is just, I mean, booing, throwing trash. You can actually, in that picture, see a piece of trash almost hit the microphone. It's just good stuff to see good old school heat like this. What is really interesting to me is we go backstage because we're going to get our big entrance with Barry and Mike Rotundo. But they're not just like walking down the hall. They're waiting for their cue to start walking. And a little piece of trivia for you. This is the first tag team to get a WrestleMania entrance with music. By the way, Junkyard Dog's entrance in the previous match of this was the first first WrestleMania entrance with music. So just a little something for you. So yeah, again, with the ring introductions, all that kind of good stuff. And we begin the match. So here we go. I don't even know. I don't remember what that's about, but that happened. So we get Barry tied up in the corner of Sheik and Nikolai, and Sheik ironically comes off of his feet and does a drop kick, but Barry moves out of the way. He ends up drop kicking Nikolai. It was interesting to me to see Sheik actually wrestle.
Oh, it was awesome. He could go.
I was like, wow, look at him go, man. Even if it's only one move, I'm for it.
Yeah, well, that drop kick, Nikolai doesn't even really, like, he sells it, but he doesn't fall off the apron.
No, he hangs onto the rope.
He hangs onto the rope and then reaches out his hand and gets tagged in.
Yeah, totally burying his own partner. Gotta love it. So anyway, Sheik ends up on the outside, grabs Freddie Blassie's cane, hits Barry in the back, and there is our winner. The Heels, the new tag team champions in WWF. So
love Freddie Blassie. Yeah, Freddie Blassie obviously stands out. Everything he does, he was great. Mike Rotundo. Wow, I thought he was really good too.
Yeah,
but I enjoyed this one too.
I totally slept on Mike prior to IRS.
Yeah.
So we're backstage live, actually, with Iron Sheik cutting a promo about his new tag team championships, and Freddie Blassie, gets on the mic and cuts a promo as well. Good stuff. I will say it's interesting to me. I wonder how much it is a trust issue with. I trust you to do a good promo live without a pre-tape kind of thing, and I think that's also why we're so heavy on the pre-tapes versus live. It's more control. Vince can kind of control the creative on that a lot more. So yeah, you can't go wrong with an Iron Sheik promo, for the record. So again, we go to Lord Alfred Hayes, who is going to go backstage to.
Can we go back to Lord Alfred?
Yeah, absolutely.
How much do you think he's relying on that program in his arm?
100%. He's relying on that program more than I'm relying on my notes right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So bless his heart, he throws backstage to Gene. Gene is there with Bobby Heenan and Big John Studd with the duffel bag, or the briefcase as they called it, of $15,000 for the next match. We end up going to ringside, and we get the big entrances for Bobby the Brain Heenan and Big John Studd. And this is, of course, the body slam match. And out comes Andre the Giant. Again, an enormous pop in the Madison Square Garden live crowd. Just, again, they totally ate him up. And in this match, I enjoyed the picture-in-picture of the managers and stuff through this. I thought it was something different and something fun.
Cutting edge technology.
Very. Very. So obviously there's not going to be a lot of high spots in this. There's a lot of punching and kicking and that kind of stuff. Early in the match, John does try to body slam Andre, and the crowd almost laughs it off. And then Andre delivers a flurry of kicks, and that's about all it takes to weaken Big John Studd for the slam and the win.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And all the money. The slam and all the money.
All the money. But he doesn't care about the money. He's going to throw it out to the crowd. But before he gets too much out there, Bobby Heenan, of course, is like grabbing the bag. What are you doing? And takes off with the bag. And the crowd doesn't mind. The crowd doesn't mind that they're not getting money. The crowd doesn't mind that it's just interesting how it all unraveled and how it worked.
Yeah.
So
that was a fun one. I like seeing two big giants going against each other.
I do too. So and again, a kind of a peek behind the curtain, based on different podcasts and interviews and stuff that I've listened to. Andre was not always keen on other big men because he was very protective of the spot. If I remember correctly, though, he and Big John Studd were totally cool, good buds. So it was good to get to see them work a match together. We do go backstage live with Gene Okerlund, who's going to interview Andre the Giant, and Andre even says he doesn't care about the money. So yeah, that I can't do an Andre very well at all. So we go to Lord Alfred Hayes. Boy.
Moolah.
Moolah, indeed. So he's going to throw backstage to Cyndi Lauper and Wendi Richter with Mean Gene Okerlund. Actually, here's my second favorite promo for the backstage pre-tapes. Cyndi Lauper, of all people, cut a good one. Again, yes, like you said, it's written out, but the delivery is there. It's believable when she talks about how she. If this is a spot that I'm remembering, where she talked about Lou Albano had trained her as a manager, so she knows just what to do out there. Good stuff. Kind of a swing and a miss is Moolah with these glasses. We'll get into that in a second. They're dollar signs, and I get that. But she and Lalani Kai backstage, who is the current WWF ladies or women's champion, rather. We go to the ring, and there's Moolah with those glasses. Now, John, I'm going to let you point out what's odd about these glasses and why I'm so hung up on them.
Is it they're backwards? They're dollar signs?
They're backwards. Why do we have backwards dollar signs on Moolah's custom glasses that she's talked about were made just for her in WrestleMania? Just Kind of interesting.
No idea.
Yeah. So we go to the ring with Leilani Kai, and we get the big entrance of Cyndi Lauper backstage with Wendi Richter, and they're running to the ring. They're all pumped up. And of course, this is for the WWF Women's Championship. This is, man, I'll just be honest. This is very much a straight up Mae Young Moolah style match. A lot of snapmares and hair tosses and just typical women's wrestling of the era. We do get Moolah tries to get involved in the match. Cyndi Lauper's not having any of it. She goes over to break it up. We get a really stiff kick from Leilani Kai to Wendi Richter in the ring. We get a body slam as we get to the finish. Leilani Kai hits a crossbody and kind of rolls through. And Wendi Richter ends up getting the 1, 2, 3 and is your new WWF Women's Champion.
I'm curious how many eyes. Oh my gosh, Wendy's buddy, Cyndi Lauper. I'm curious how many people bought this pay-per-view just because Cyndi was on it, or how much attention Cyndi brought in. The match itself, it's fine, but the bringing Cyndi in, bringing more eyes to the product, helping make WrestleMania 1 a success. I think that's part of this match. Why it's so high on the card is the Cyndi Lauper appeal.
Yeah, so, and I don't have numbers or anything for how successful that was. I just know that it was extremely successful to do the Rock and Wrestling Connection, getting some MTV crossover and stuff and promotion for this. And yes, this is indeed the payback for all of the work on her end and MTV's end. They even have, oddly enough, Cyndi Lauper's producer, Matt Wolf. Is that right?
Wolf or Wolfman? Yeah, Wolf.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's ringside, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's actually like front row kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yes. So after the match, we go backstage to another live promo. And there you can see all three of them. We've got Wendi Richter with her new WWF Championship. And it took me back. I didn't expect her to have such a Southern accent for some reason. But it was good stuff. And I think this is actually where Cyndi Lauper talks about how she was trained by Lou Albano and was a good manager because of him and that kind of thing. But my goodness, it looks like she's got color in the mouth. She's got lipstick all over her teeth.
Yeah.
It's interesting, but it's it's enjoyable. Unlike you, I thought that her role in WrestleMania was very well done. So
she definitely had a purpose where now it's, this musician's going to perform or this person's getting involved. She actually helped, bring eyes to the product, and it was a good thing.
She did, and I know that Vince is big on having celebrities at WrestleMania, making a bigger deal, and more on that in just a split second, because there's other celebrities that I'm like, why? Just doesn't make sense. So let's get into that. We're getting ready to head into our main event here. We've got Billy Martin, who is the guest ring announcer for our main event. Billy was Billy was the former Yankees manager. So he's, again, over with the hometown crowd, if you will. We then get our guest timekeeper, Liberace, with the Rockette. I just don't get this. Why Liberace? I mean, maybe
that's a Vince thing.
In New York and Broadway, and I don't know, but just weird. We also get our guest referee, if you will. He's kind of more of an enforcer.
And I love this. So
yes, similar to what Mike Tyson was at WrestleMania 13. Yes, I agree. I too love this. It's we get Muhammad Ali coming to the ring. Next, we get our entrances for our participants in the ring. We get the full Monty, if you will, for the Piper entrance with bagpipes, drums, the whole marching band. It's good stuff. All the nostalgia.
The entrances throughout the whole show, kind of weak till here. So your main event. So it really did make your main event special.
Yes, it did. The other thing I meant to mention in the previous match, I'm not sure on this, but I would assume that whatever music was used for Wendi, Richter, and CYNDI was a dub over, because I would assume that they probably used Girls Want to Have Fun.
Yeah.
Which was CYNDI's big hit at the time. So, but yes, I would agree, John, that this is, we are in full throttle on this main event with entrances and the whole gaga and showmanship, entertainment value. It's all there. I will point out that our entering referee is Pat Patterson, and I have thoughts about that, but I don't know if I want to get into that or not.
I just wanted to make sure everything ran smoothly.
I think he wanted to be there for Liberace, if it's my thing.
Oh, okay, maybe.
Maybe not. So we also we get Bob Orton. I have no notes on this. I don't need notes for the main event, so I'll just move my paper so I don't keep getting distracted. We've got Roddy Piper with Cowboy Bob Orton in the corner of Mr. Wonderful, Paul Orndorff, who, again, with his back turned to his own entrance.
Yep.
Then we get the big pop of the night with Hulk Hogan and Mr. T. There you can see, even in the background, somebody important. There's Vince McMahon keeping an eye on everything as Hulk and Mr. T make their entrance to ringside, along with Jimmy Superfly Snuka, who, to me, I didn't understand why he was there other than just, we got to have 3-on-3.
Yeah.
It just seemed really weird. And more on that in a minute. So again, we get our big entrances. And here we go. We've got a head-to-head action with Rowdy Piper and Mr. T. And boy, oh boy, in real life, these two did not get along. I don't know. Okay, so you're in on this. Yeah, Rowdy was extremely old school, protective of the business, didn't want to do anything to bring anybody in, let alone kind of give up the spotlight in the main event. So it was kind of stiff skis.
Yeah.
And then so we've got all kinds of shenanigans throughout the match. It's not even. I honestly have a very hard time calling this match, especially whenever Mr. T's in there. He's not working with anybody. He just looks like a fish out of water. But also, so does Muhammad Ali as an enforcer. Anytime that anybody does something he doesn't like, he just swings at him. That's what referees do in wrestling.
That's what Muhammad Ali does.
Right.
He can swing at whoever he wants. Yeah, he's great.
Yep. We get a big boot from Hulk. Orndorff hits a knee drop from the top rope, which was pretty interesting. Here we get Mr. T trying to get the tag as Hogan is down selling. He's not even over the top rope, not holding the tag rope, nothing. He's just between the top and second rope. Gets his tag.
Here's the finish.
It's awful to watch Mr. T in there, but yes, we are at the finish. We got all kinds of shenanigans.
Cowboy Bob, ace.
Yeah, ace. So Paul Orndorff has a full Nelson, has Hulk Hogan in a full Nelson. Bob Orton hits a double axe handle smash from the top rope, but Hulk moves and he ends up hitting Paul Orndorff, and there you get Hulk with the cover and the 1-2-3. And as it's legendarily known, Hogan must pose. So there's your big celebration post-match. We get all the celebrities, everybody doing all their celebrating and stuff. We do get replays and stuff of this, and I thought that was really cool to see different angles and stuff. Again, just advancement in technology with replays and being able to happen that fast. We then go backstage because we've still got like 10 minutes of show left, which is like, why? But we go backstage, we get a promo, thankfully a short one. It was nothing like his Hall of Fame speech from Mr. T. And we get a promo from Hulk, and then Jimmy Snuka. And the whole time Jimmy Snuka is talking, Hulk is just looking at him like hoping that he doesn't say anything wrong, or it's really father-son babysitter kind of vibes from Hulk. We go back down to commentary to wrap things up for the pay-per-view with Gorilla Monsoon, Jesse the Body Ventura. Again, I thought they were a decent commentary team. Not top 5, but definitely good chemistry between the two of them. Interesting on the credits, and again, I'm a fan of credits on pay-per-views. Executive producer Vince McMahon. So again, for those of you who are not knowledged or not whatever the word I'm looking for, don't know anything about old school WWF. This is before everybody knew who's the owner. And I'm not sure he was the owner by this point, right? He had already bought his father out. Yeah. Another interesting thing I saw in the credits, coordinating consultant James Barnett. Are you familiar with James Barnett?
It's not jumping out to me.
So he was a promoter in Oklahoma in NWA. He was the first openly gay promoter who always got a lot of flack and stuff, but ended up working for WWF in this time. So it was interesting to see him in the credits because I'd forgotten he was there during this. So yeah.
So is that an example of the territories being bought out and like him not having a job and Vince taking him in?
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, I think there was certain promoters. Basically, if and there's a lot of, and we should definitely do a show on this. There's a lot of misconception about Vince buying out territories. Vince did not buy out territories. He bought out top talent in territories, and they fizzled out, and he bought them for dirt cheap because of that. And so promoters would either get really upset and have it out for Vince, or they would understand and, hey, I don't have that anymore. Can I work with you? And I think James Barnett fell into that. So
we're like Crockett and Gagne, they took it as we're going to war.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Good stuff. So overall, John, what are your thoughts of the pay-per-view, and how would you, if it was up to you, how would you rebook it?
Well, it was the first. It was not the best. And you got to start somewhere, and this was a good start. The only real thing I would have switched was SD and Tito. I think would have had a better match, and just let Bundy kill the Executioner. I mean, that to me that would have made things better.
Yeah, after you said that, it does make sense. Yeah, I would agree.
That, and then the goofy finish with JYD and the hammer, I would have tweaked that up a bit. But yeah, I mean, it was really, you sold the show around that main event. Having Mr. T have a match, having Piper versus Hogan, that's really the big selling point. Yes, you had Andre, Big John Studd. People wanted to see that. That's Battle of the Giants. That's fun.
Yep.
But Cyndi Lauper being there and the other celebrities, like it added to it and made it feel like a bigger show than it was.
Yes. Yeah. The other thing too, that makes it feel bigger, and we talked about this, I believe it was either in Super Brawl or Starrcade, about how all the tossing back and forth, it was Super Brawl. It makes it feel like a bigger deal when there's more people involved, and they're thrown to different cameras and all this kind of stuff, even if it is pre-tapes. I will say the biggest flaw in all that is how formulaic it was. It was predictable. Match, commentary, Lord Alfred Hayes, backstage, match. That kind of got old. I feel like they could have done something to change that up. But like you pointed out too, and that's a really good point that you made, that maybe there was no communication or whatever, and it was just the best way to get the goal accomplished of getting that was just to throw it to the next man. Yeah,
and if Gorilla and Jesse, my thought really was just, keep them focused on what's in the ring. Lord Alfred will set it up. And it gives those guys a break to, okay, hey, catch your breath. What are we talking about? What's the story? Whatever. Yeah. So, overall, I mean, it was a quick one. Under right at 2 hours.
Yeah, right around 2 hours. Yeah, and the matches, honestly, and I'll be honest, there were times where my heart sunk when they're like, "This is a 1 hour time limit," and I'm like, "Oh my god, no!" It went like 11 minutes, 12 minutes at the longest. 6 or 7 minutes at the average. So very palatable if old school wrestling is something that you're interested in, but maybe you've visited a few matches and you find them to be kind of slow. This is a good starting point. I personally am not a fan of watching old school matches that are full of sleepers and arm holds and all this. It's just not entertaining to me. This one didn't have much of that.
I don't see myself watching it back again for a couple of years. Yeah. The main event is definitely worth a watch. It is the first main event of WrestleMania. It's something all wrestling fans, I feel, have to watch at some point. If they haven't got to it, take the time. It's worth it.
It is. Just to see how they handled all the pomp and circumstance on the first go around. They did a good job.
And then to watch how it's evolved over the years with pyro. I mean, expanding on celebrity guest and just production value, not being so formulaic. It's come a long way.
It really has. It really has. It's been so long since I watched it. I honestly didn't expect to have like ring entrance music or anything. So that was a nice surprise whenever we had a handful of those throughout the night. So good stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm like you as far as matches. That's you've sold me on all those points on how you would rebook it. A lot of my stuff is just production on the production end. Have better communication so that wrestlers aren't walking in front of Lord Alfred Hayes. You know, little things like that. But they got it right the next time. So.
And I initially, when the first time I watched it, I did think the first WrestleMania you don't have a title match like for the heavyweight championship, but having Mr. T in there, it's it gives you room to grow to the next thing, and I think that's important. They needed, you got to keep coming back. So,
yep, it's true. True.
If Hogan kills Piper in the first WrestleMania, there's nowhere to go.
Right. Yeah. And then you have to hurry up and find an opponent within a year and build them up. Back then, that was a big deal to build up an opponent for Hogan at Mania. So, yep.
And
good stuff.
The next year, those issues with Piper and Mr. T continue. So it's cool to see like the progression of it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very true. Very true. Well, I'm excited for WrestleMania season, man. I'm happy to be finally in the spring and Mania season. We're on the road, so we're doing our part here, and we thank you very much for joining along. Don't forget to do this.
Like this video, share it with your tag team partners, and hit your finisher on that subscribe button, brother. Ooh yeah, dig it.
Yes.
All the yes. All right. Well, John, thank you so much for your time and for checking out WrestleMania 1 with us. We hope that you guys enjoyed the show, and we will see you on the next episode of Recliner Wrestling Review.